Hi, all. Just another minute to let folks log in, and I'm going to record this session, as you probably noticed by something that's appeared on your screen, so you can share it with your colleagues or refresh your memory about what we talked about. My name is Peter Graychuk. I manage sales and marketing for North49. I'm joined by my colleague, Etienne Grobler, who will be doing the actual product presentation. If you have any questions throughout, please enter them in the Q&A. I'll be monitoring that while Etienne does his thing. And that's preferable to the chat because those do get recorded. So if we don't get an opportunity to answer your question during the session, we can get back to you with those answers. So with that, let me get things rolling. We're going to talk about the North49 Customer Portal, and it is live integration into Sage Intacct. And really, this is the means for your clients' customers to access their account information as it sits inside of Sage Intacct. And because this is a live read of data, there is no process for your client to run. They don't need to upload anything to the portal or download anything if a payment has been made. It all happens real time, live into Sage Intacct, and we do so through the API. Now, this is probably nothing new to you guys, but even prior to the pandemic, there was a real trend toward people wanting to take their things to the cloud and then providing this self-service that customers have been demanding. But ever since the pandemic hit, it really accelerated that, and customers started demanding it. And in fact, it's now table stakes. If you don't offer some sort of online self-service order processing for customers, you may find yourself losing those customers because, according to recent studies, people will look for vendors that do provide those capabilities. So certainly you don't want your clients to be in that situation. And the nice thing about the customer portal is it's very inexpensive and very quick to deploy. So really no excuse not to have this kind of service available for your customers. And what's really driving this is because we've come accustomed to this in our everyday lives, in our personal lives, dealing with the Amazons of the world and marketplaces like that. So, and there's no reason why merchants, vendors can't provide this to their business customers as well. And the beauty of this is it not only provides a high level of service for the customers, something that they expect, but it also has the added benefit of reducing the administrative overhead for all of these things that customers are dealing with, your customers are dealing with. It eliminates paper that goes out potentially now through current processes, saves them a lot of time and money. And hopefully when we go through the product, you're going to see this in play, and you'll understand what we mean when we say that. It can be something as simple as a click-to-pay link that you can embed on an invoice document or in an email that goes out to a customer. They simply click that link. They're presented with a screen like this that allows them to pay that invoice document. No login required. Or you go with the full portal that allows them full access to their account details, and they can pay multiple accounts. They can look up order statuses. They can even place orders online with a simple order entry form like this one, which is really just a web-based order entry form that allows them to place their orders. Now, we don't position this as an e-commerce solution. Clearly, it doesn't go quite that far, but it does sort of broach on some of those same capabilities. Clearly aimed at B2B customers, someone who might have some familiarity with your product lines and knows what they want to order, and they just want a quick way to get an order into the system. So the customer portal is designed to be, once you've got it set up, you don't have to mess with it. It just does what it does automatically, and there's no babysitting that needs to happen. Because of that live read through the API, it just works. And things happen in the background. When a customer makes a payment, that payment ends up automatically reconciled or posted against that invoice document, against that customer and against the bank. And Etienne will show you examples of that when he goes through there. So once it's set up, there's very little you have to do with it. It just does what it does. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Etienne and let him show you the product. So Etienne,
thank you very much, Pete. Let me share my screen with us and we'll get going. Thank you very much for that intro. I would like to approach the portal kind of sideways by having a look at what we call click-to-pay functionality. It will give us a good kind of entry point into the system. I do want to iterate a number of things before we start. Number one, the portal does not carry any information or any data. It reads and writes, interacts with Intacct real time. And that means that there's no process in the morning to upload invoices to get paid by customers. There's no process of downloading payments or data or orders at the end of the day. As information is happening, as transactions take place, they are writing and reading directly into Intacct. It also means that data is secure. There's no data that can possibly be hacked. Data location ownership is taken care of. The data is going to lie where your data lies. And for that reason, also, the portal is, as Peter mentioned, entirely set and forget. Once it's set up, it's just going to do its job. It doesn't require anybody to log in, make changes, do updates, etc., etc. The portal is just simply going to operate the way that the portal is going to operate. And so with that, let's kind of kick in and have a look at what it does. Starting off with Click to Pay. Click to Pay, as you may know, is your ability to send out a document, an invoice, an email to your customer with a link embedded on that, which says just click here and pay this outstanding document. That doesn't require login. It doesn't require the user to have an account on your system. It's just simply, as this goes out, it's going to allow the customer to pay a particular invoice. So let's go have a look at that. I've just mocked up one here in a Word document. This, of course, would typically be an email generated from within your Intacct system. And you can get Intacct to build that link for you. It really is a very simple link. It's going to pass the customer onto your portal and your portal URL. And the portal is going to run under whatever URL you designate. So if your company email, your company website is mycompany.com, you would typically just subdomain one called portal.mycompany.com or login.mycompany.com. And that's going to be the URL of your portal. And then we pass it the customer number and the document number. And you'll see that there's no details of the invoice on there. There's no amount outstanding on that link that we're going to pass the customer. The customer is simply going to go ahead and click on that. And we're going to open up the Click to Pay page. And as they open it up, the Click to Pay page validated that invoice directly against Intacct. So we passed it, as you can see in the URL up top here, the customer number and the document ID, and the system went validated that this document has got $900 outstanding. It is a document to Be Safe Alarms, and that was the invoice date. By design, at this point, we do not show the customer extended detail of this document. We want to be cognizant of security. We want to be aware of the fact that somebody else could have gotten hold of this email, and so we are not going to show extraordinary amounts of detail about that particular invoice. I will go ahead and pay this invoice because at this point now, the danger is I keep on chatting is that I make it sound awfully complicated. So customers going to land here, they're just going to simply say, go ahead and pay the invoice. And we're going to take them off to make that payment. Just before we go there, and so I just kind of want to, in your mind, hit the pause button for the customer here. The customer not going to listen to all the other chatting going on. They're just going to go ahead and pay it. But I do want to point out some functionality on this particular page just for future reference. Number one, we are paying an invoice. We also have the ability to make an advance payment. And so the Click to Pay page becomes so useful apart from just, go ahead and pay this invoice. You could have a customer that is in arrears. You just want them to make a $500 payment, and you can send them to this page. They can simply come in here and make an advance payment on their account. Or you want them to pay a deposit on an order before you send the order in for manufacturer, you can send them to this page and they can make an advance deposit on a particular order. So there's a lot more functionality embedded here. The payment terms, as we'll kind of dig into a little later on, that's going to A, depend on your processor, and B, what this customer is allowed to pay on. So you can make specific arrangements with the customer that they may not pay by credit card, or you want to enforce a check, ACH, or EFT payment from them. And so you can control that here as well. All of these features, of course, can be turned on and off. So you in control of your portal can decide you're never going to do unallocated or advanced payments. You just turn that button off. It's just not going to be there. Okay, with all of that said, then let's go ahead and pay this invoice. What I actually, before I make that payment, I'm just going to flip back. I'm going to leave the screen open here. I just want to flip back into Intacct and just have a look at that invoice before we go ahead and pay it. So back in at the Intacct ranch here, let's open up our customer and have a look at that invoice. And it was invoice number 31 for Be Safe Alarms. So Be Safe, let's just go have a look at his account, invoice number 31. Here we go. So here is invoice number 31. The system did look it up. There's an invoice total of $900, amount paid 0, total amount due that. Now let's go ahead and pay that. So I'm going to just put in a dummy credit card here. This particular system is linked to Paya. And let's go ahead and pay this. Nope, don't do that. Okay. So here's the transaction. So the customer now gets a payment receipt. They can print a copy of that. So here's my copy of the receipt, etc. At the same time, there's a bunch of emails going out. So you as the portal owner are going to be notified that the payment's been made. Here we go. I just received this. So I am GBD Inc. And my customer is paid invoice number 31 to an amount of $900 using a credit card, etc. So I'm getting a copy. The customer is going to get a copy. And we also integrate real time into both Microsoft Teams and a product called Slack. And they're both instant notifications or instant messaging systems. So let me show you. This is what my Teams account looked like. And I've created a team called Portal Notifications. And under here, of course, you can put the people that need to receive that. Under that team, I've got channels for the different kinds of notifications that I may receive. You know, the contact us form, that's probably going to go to your customer service reps, Portal AR, order entry, etc., etc. So under Portal AR, if we're going to have a look there, here's that payment that was made right now. So payment of $900 received from Be Safe Alarms on invoice number 131. These take place real time. So as I process on the portal, you're going to be notified about that. So there's absolute instant notification of everything going on the portal. And as I said, emails are being sent out, etc., etc. So customer has paid that. They can print themselves a copy, as I said before, save a PDF copy, do whatever they want to do with this, and they're going to be notified that there has been a payment made. Let's just, for argument's sake, go back now and have a look. Here is that invoice. I'm just going to refresh my screen. And here is that invoice. Invoice total $900, paid $900, amount due 0, paid in full. And of course, you know, we expect to see that if we go and have a look at accounts receivable, and let's have a look at posted payments for Be Safe. And Be Safe has made a payment of $900 right there. So we can go ahead and view that. My sequence is a little bit out of whack there because of dates and sample data, etc. But we can see this had been made. Invoice number 131 paid, credit supplied none, etc., etc. So real-time integration. I will stop kind of hammering on the point. Hopefully you get that. And let's move ahead and have a look at the portal. Before I do that, I want to speak of a particular piece of functionality, which I will point out as we log in. And that is the ability for you to communicate with your customers real time. I'm going to log in as a customer 10004 into the system. And so I want to show you that we've added a new tab. This is just normal Intacct custom field, so nothing weird about this. Added a new tab called Customer Notes. And we've added a note field, and I just want to remove this top line here because it's going to stop me from demoing it. And so what we're doing here is we want to have some sort of conversation or communication with Bedrock Industrial, client number 10004. And so we can add a portal message for Bedrock here. So let me go ahead and save that, and we'll come back to that in just a second. Next one, I just want to click on this again and just kind of give you an indication of what's going to happen. So if the customer tries to pay this invoice again, it's going to say, nope, cannot do that. The invoice is paid. Let's go ahead and log in. This is what the portal looks like, just some kind of housekeeping items here. We do have a multilingual. We've got English and French. We do want to put up a Spanish version pretty soon. So it will be a multilingual system. There's a whole lot of room left up to about here for the logo and any verbiage that you want to put in here. You know, Sage Intacct, do business with us because we deliver a better product, whatever you want to do here. The welcome message under your control, you simply log in and change the welcome message as you want to. Registration will take place on anything from a email that you receive saying, please add me as a user, all the way through to what we call self-registration, where a customer will come up and they can self-register, give us your customer number, etc. Strong password control. The passwords are encrypted, cannot be decrypted, not by us, not by you. And so, they stay secure. Okay. With that, I'm going to log in. I've created a user called N49 Portal. That user is attached to customer 10004. And as we go ahead and log in here, the system is going to validate the user. And it's going to come up and say, dear Bedrock, your application or external blah, blah, blah has been approved. That's this message that we put here next to Bedrock inside of Intacct. And so that message is going to pop up for Bedrock when they log in. And if they say, okay, we are going to go back over here. Let me just refresh. And we will show you that Bedrock or N49 Portal read that message today we put it over to GMT time, so we accommodate multiple time zones and international processing. But you are going to know that Bedrock has received this. And so if you want to go ahead and now build another one, you simply go edit and add information above this, and that message is going to pop up. So you keep a history of your communication with a client. On the other end, there would have been a possible second message, which we refer to as a broadcast. A broadcast would be a message that you set up on the portal, and that's going to be widely broadcast to everybody logging in. Bedrock obviously have logged in before, so they've seen that message. You have the ability to go change the message, refresh it, rebroadcast it, etc. But a broadcast message, unlike the one-on-one message, is going to be broadcast to everybody logging into the system. I am showing you a full system here. Of course, you can turn any of these features on and off. And so if, for example, you're not doing orders simply won't appear here. And so the customer is going to see what you want them to see only. Let's go ahead and look through these just very briefly. Account activity does exactly that. It's going to read off the Intacct system, the current status, your current balance. Let me just make this a little bit smaller and a little bit bigger over here. That's what the portal is going to look like. So it's getting activity information, your current balance, your terms code information, your accounting contacts, etc. We did write the portal to operate efficiently across devices. So regardless of the device that you're looking at, the portal is going to work well. So, kind of have a look at the menu across the top here and the layout of the documents. Invoices are kind of one-liners. If you look at the same page on your smartphone, it's going to look like that. So here is your document now, account information, your invoices now dropped in underneath each other. So we're not taking a picture and squishing it into a very small, unreadable document. We are actually rearranging the screen so that it remains usable regardless of the size of the piece of equipment that you're monitoring it on. Our menu at the top has kind of folded down to what we refer to as a hamburger menu. So it'll kind of slide open and give you those options. So, the concept, of course, is that you can operate this with your finger. You don't have a mouse now. So you can click things with your finger and operate them well, and regardless of the screen that you're on, it is going to work. Okay, let's get back here. Account activity does just that. View transactions, pretty much what you expect. Number of transactions per page. Show all or open only. Open only are only going to show you documents with a current balance. And which document types do you want to view. These are under your control. So if, for example, you do not do debit notes, or you do not want to see your customer, to see debit notes, you can simply turn this off. And here are the documents. So let's click through on a document. It's going to extract the detail of that document, show the user a presentation of it in as much detail as we possibly can. The customer can go ahead and print themselves a copy of that. It is possible for us at a fee to adjust this printout to look exactly like the printout that you would be generating internally. Okay, let's go on to pay account. Just a couple of features. Let's kind of skip ahead just a little bit. We do have the option for the customer to quote unquote store a credit card. So just to be clear, we never store a credit card. We never touch the credit card. What happens though is there's the ability of the gateway to pass back what's called a token. And that token will serve as a processing means for that customer, for you as a merchant of that processor, and for that particular processor. It's entirely within the PCI compliance rules for us to store that token without stepping outside of the bounds of PCI compliance. You may turn this feature on and off, and your customer may choose whether they want to store a card or not, so it remains entirely at their discretion. You'll see that I've got two cards here. One is expired, so it won't show up when I go ahead and make a payment because it is expired, and there is a Visa card ready here for us to use. We've designated that Visa card as a default card. The customer has the option to delete a token. When they do, of course, we will flag the token as being inactive, so they just won't see it. We cannot physically remove the token without your permission because there might be transactions have processed. So customer can store a credit card. Let's go have a look at pay account. On the pay account screen, the system is going to extract all the documents that are payable. Can, of course, just go ahead and say, settle my whole account. If the user wants to, they can click on a document and just get some sort of idea of what was on that document. So we will list the detailed lines of this document so they know what they're paying over here. And optionally, if you choose to do that, you can allow them to override the amount, in other words, to make partial payments. I see that that's been turned off on this particular system, which kind of surprises me a little. Somebody's been playing around, but you can allow them to turn this on and off. Let's go ahead and make a full payment here then. Oh, sorry, I didn't select it. My fault. I've just been blaming somebody for messing with my system, and they didn't. So whoever I just insulted, I do apologize. So let's go ahead and make a payment. Let's pay $2,500 on this particular invoice. And we can go ahead. And, by now, that you can turn that on and off if you want to. So if you do not want your customers to make partial payments, just simply uncheck it in the setup, and it's not going to do that. Go ahead and make the payment. Payments available here, Visa, use a new card, use check ACH, save the new card, etc. One new component popping up on our screen here is you do have the ability to charge your customer a fee when they make the payment. Now, that comes with a whole big, warning that in certain states that might not be legal, that you may have to apply it broad-based, et cetera, et cetera. So please, ensure that when you do that, that you're actually allowed to do it, but we do allow that functionality. We have actually drilled this down to individual customer levels so that you can control the payments on a customer level, which allow you to kind of contractually go to the customer and say, okay, I will give you a discount, but you're only allowed to pay by ACH, or whatever that negotiation might look like. We control that with another custom field that you put on the customer. That's going to control what a customer can pay with and also what the relevant fees are. And I believe in this case, we've kind of put a fee of 2.1% if you pay via credit card, and a fixed fee of $15 if you pay by ACH. So you can control it down to that level. Of course, you don't have to. you can just simply leave it blank, and there's going to be none of that as the customer goes ahead and pays it. Also, when he pays, we will allocate that correctly. So we will ask you in setup to give us a label or a GL account, if you will, to where this is going to post, so that we don't over apply an amount and leave the customer in a credit. And we will automatically generate that adjustment on the customer account when the payment comes through. Let's go ahead and pay. Because we're paying with a token, we do not have to send the customer off to the payment processor. We can simply process that payment real time. And here it was done. And of course, as you expect, all the notifications are going through. Received from customer that for invoice number 142 that he paid, etc. You can hear my phone clicking off here. The emails have been sent, etc. So this is all happening real time. Back at the ranch here, let's go ahead and have a look at that payment very quickly, just so I can show you the amounts going through, posted payments. And we are looking for Bedrock, and here is Bedrock's payment coming through, and you will see that he paid invoice number 42, and we automatically generated an AR adjustment to take care of that $62 into the GL account where we wanted the payment to go through to. So if we have a look at that, you can see that that was correctly allocated, in our case. We set up an account for surcharges, and it went to surcharges. But of course, as I said, you will set that up in the admin portal, and so you can control where that goes to in the general ledger. So we're making sure that we're not going to mess up your system. We're going to have things allocated where they need to go, etc. Okie doke. It just very briefly, we do allow you to make prepayments or advance payments directly from here. So the customer can just kind of go in here. You ask them to make a prepayment. Remember, that option was available right up front. So over here, payment reference, I am paying you $500 because Peter said I must. Put in the $500, go ahead and make the payment. Let's have a look at orders. As a standard feature, if you do have orders, we can show them, orders per page, show all, which types do we want to show, active or quotes. There is a setup option which says, do you want to show quotes? There is a setup option which says, what do you want us to do with drafts? Do you want us to show a draft quote or not? Are those just internal documents? Do you want us to show a draft order or not, etc., etc.? So what eventually appears on this page is going to depend on how you deal with it. We've also built in the functionality where you can do what's called an RFQ, so request for quote. That's your customer posting a document saying, hey, this is not an order, this is a quote. I want you to give me a quote on these items. You will review that quote, approve that quote, and once the quote's approved, the customer can come and turn that into an order. And I'm sorry, I don't have one that's kind of prior status, but here was one, here's a quote, and an order has been created from that quote. And there will be a button here, which if the user clicks it, it'll just simply say, do you want me to turn this into an active order, yes or no? And you can, the customer can actually then go ahead and turn that quote into an order. On this page, the customer can do kind of a quick view of a document, so they can just simply click and have a look at what's on that, or of course, they can drill directly into the document and get themselves a copy. So we're going to retrieve that document information, give it to them, properly formatted, quantity shipped, back ordered, etc. They can go ahead and print a copy of that, etc. So we're putting self-service into the hands of the customer. Finally, let's have a look at order entry. As Peter mentioned, we don't kind of presume, or we don't put this forward as an e-commerce system. But again, just to reiterate, it is a very neat system for somebody just to come ahead and place an order. So we're going to ask them for a ship to location. We will extract any location that's available on their account, or they can go ahead and add a new address, the PO number, the requested delivery date, when you want this dropped in, and some sort of comment that they want to put in here. Once they've added this information, they can just simply close that screen up. And now we're going to go ahead and add detail. And there's a couple of levels, so you can, again, control what you want to do here. So, for example, if we want a customer to just see kind of, very brief descriptions of what we want them to process, we can go ahead. So security system, go ahead and add one to my screen, to my order. The system is going to go up and fetch the detail of that document, all of that, and add it in here. And how many do you want? I want one. There is a concept on the portal of a salesperson logging in, and we may speak about that a little later on. And so you can allow price overrides, and you can allow price overrides, for example, only if the user logging in is a salesperson. So you can allow the salesperson then to go make adjustments to this particular document or this particular price. If we turn on item details, and let's just have a look at another item here, we will extract additional information from that item in inventory control. And what we are extracting is a field called the summary web description. And the summary web description inside of Intacct is actually a fairly substantial piece of information. So this is it. We've just added a whole bunch of information so the user can see that. I don't have any item images stored on this particular system, but if you have images, and you can store images either somewhere where we can just get hold of them, or you can upload them onto the portal data set itself. If you have images, the images will appear as well. So you can show your customer extended information. You can show your customer images and multiple images on a particular product should you wish to do that. So let's go ahead and add 2 of these, and we'll just go say, okay, let's go ahead and add this to our system. And there's our order. Now what the customer can do is they can just go ahead and place the order. Whether they're allowed to place an order or a quote, again, is under your control. So if they're only allowed to place an order, that's going to be the only option available here. And they can go ahead and enter that order real time. When they do that, we are actually writing that order directly into Intacct. So we have now created sales order number 850. Customer can, of course, go ahead and print themselves a copy. You will hear my phone going off and my email updating, and all of this is being updated real time. So here is an order, number 850, placed by this particular customer. And they can go ahead, print themselves a copy, etc. And as you may expect, all the notifications happening, in this case, in my Teams, it's gone through to Portal OE. Customer 004 has placed an order for those 2 items. So notifications are happening real time as we go ahead. With that then, I think I'm going to move away from the portal internally and just very briefly show you what the admin side or login of this looks like. I do believe we have some time. Let me log out, and I'm going to log in as the admin of this particular portal. And when I log in as the admin, the first thing I'm going to see is somewhat of a screen which is going to show me the activity on the system. And so, today we've made 2 payments. Remember, we made that payment on Click to Pay, and then we went ahead and paid the account. That was the total amount. And we can have a look at this today, month to date, year to date, last year. We can have a look at it by quantity or by amount, so we can have a look at what's going on the portal, the number of logins, etc. Let's just go have a look at the other functions. So remember, we spoke about the broadcast message. Here is the broadcast message. If I want to reset everybody's flag and just rebroadcast it, I can just reset the broadcast message, and now everybody's going to see that broadcast. Our user control over here is going to allow us to have a look at users, activate, deactivate, add, create, delete users. We built in a very specific filter here for us to do that. And here is our users attached here. We have a type user, we have a type merchant or admin, that guy there, sorry, and we have a type salesperson. And the difference with the salesperson is that he can log in and then transact on behalf of other people. So as a salesperson log in, we're going to ask him, who do you want to deal with? And we'll be able to call up his account. Receipts, again, we did a fairly comprehensive receipt tracking on the portal. We don't store any information, again, that we're not allowed to store here, but it is going to allow us to track very accurately what happened. So, remember today we did 2 transactions, on the 18th. The first one, the Be Safe alarm, and the $900 which they paid. And the second one was our user, and this is the invoice they paid. Together with the fee that was charged on that. And that's going to allow you to search for records very easily based on whatever criteria. So if we want to see how many times invoice number 61 has been paid already, we can just go ahead and filter the documents out, and we're going to see them. Oh, nothing, I didn't type in the full. Oh, invoice number 61 is wrong. It was invoice number 131, wasn't it? Filter. And we're going to find the necessary documents that was paid. So here it is, was paid today by Be Safe Alarms. There is the information being paid. Let's have a quick look at portal setup. This controls the login, the security question we want to ask the user, the logo. Remember, we said we made that easy. So you want to change the logo, just simply come and click here, and you're going to be able to change the logo. Welcome message that appears on the login screen, all available really easily here for you to change. Features and functions allows you to turn on and off. So if you do not have order entry, just simply turn it off. I don't want order entry. I'm not going to turn order entry on. Do we want to show drafts for orders and quotes? Remember, we spoke about that. Which document types do you want to show? Spoke about that. And your portal domain is going to be entered here, and that's what the portal is going to point at. Payment processing, very simple. Max payment allowable by credit card. Anything over that's going to require some other payment method. Remember, we said you want to allow partial payments, which I falsely accused somebody of turning off. Over there's that switch. We spoke about fees and surcharges. What is the adjustment surcharge label, and what is your Intacct location that you want that posted to? Notifications, very simple. Here is all our notifications going through. AR contact can be set to a group or an email, or however you want to format this is going to be the email notifications. Add a Slack or add a Teams hook here. This is really very simple. I can show you Slack, for example. It's going to just do that. It wants me to log in here. Once I've logged in, it's going to ask me to which channel do I want to post. And it's going to generate a hook, which I simply post in here. And that's done then at that point. And then finally, order entry, and I won't hover too long. This is going to control how order entry works. Do you want to post orders or both? Do you want to allow price overrides? Yes, no, just the salesperson, etc. Just going to control that. Just want to show you how simple the integration is to control from here. Pardon me. Go to Intacct Setup. This is it. This is what we need. We need your company ID. We need an entity if you want to drill down to a particular entity. And then we're going to ask you to create a user for us inside of your Intacct. There it is, the password, and we're all set to go. On the Intacct side, you're going to activate web services, give it a user, give it authorization, and the integration is going to happen at that point. And I think with that, I've kind of give a run through, and I'm going to hand back to Peter, maybe ask if there are any questions that we can answer for you at that time. And I'll go on standby over here, Pete. So back to you.
Thanks, Etienne. And I haven't seen anything come through on the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions about what we've covered so far, feel free to type something into the Q&A and we will get those answered for you. If you prefer to have a conversation with us, I will provide our contact details toward the end here. I know one of the probably more common questions that's going to come up, and let me just bring up my PowerPoint deck again and share my screen. Just a second here, I've lost my controls. Just share my screen. And while I do that, feel free to fire in some questions while I shuffle things around on my screen. Here we go. So pricing for the product is here. You can also find this on our website, and it's also published on our brochure, which is available on our.
Cannot see your screen, Pete. Sorry.
I have to hit the share button. There you go. How's
Thank
that?
you.
Got it now? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Sorry. So here's the pricing. There's a one-time setup fee, and then there's the annual subscription. So the very base subscription you can get is for the customer portal. And that just allows customers to come in and self-serve, look up documents, reprint them, that type of thing. If you want to include online payments, then you will include the online payments portion that you see here. That includes the click to pay. And then, of course, quick order entry, you can see priced at the bottom there. So that's all the pricing that is included in here. We don't take any part of the transaction fees or anything like that. This is just a simple annual subscription. We don't consume a user license or anything like that. So pretty straightforward. Anytime you would like to perhaps present this or expose this to a customer, we're here to help. So we'll do presentations to your staff. We will do presentations to your customers. Time to time, we will host public webinars to customers. So feel free to invite them to ask us to do a specific presentation for you folks. We've done lunch and learns with folks, just did one for an Australian partner the other day this week. So that's something we're more than happy to do. If you need any of the content to provide in email marketing or brochures, things like that, it's all available. We're here to help. Anything you need from us, just feel free to ask. We are more than happy to help you with that. And our contact information is here. We will be at Sage Partner Summit. We will have a booth there. So we invite you to please come and visit us, and we will give you a personal one-on-one presentation or answer any questions that typically will come up after you've absorbed some of this stuff. It's sometimes difficult to think of these things in the moment, but we'll be there. If you'll be there, please stop by to see us. We'd love to meet you in person. And if there are no questions, we can probably give you a few minutes back in your day. So last call for questions. I don't see any typing going on, so I think we are good. So thank you, Etienne, and thank you everyone for joining us. Appreciate your time, and we hope that we can have some conversations with you about your customers and how we might be able to help. Have a great afternoon. Still there, Etienne? Guess not.